go back and use those photos as a reflective tool. Some of the research that I did in graduate school for my PhD looked at using photo and video representations as data to look for reflective pieces, for building theories of things that we don't know and how they work, which is really important when you're working with technology and you don't know how these pieces will fit together yet. So you start looking at those patterns and figuring out what you need to do to adjust. As I was writing a book with AI for educators, I used Microsoft Teams as a platform to help me gather all the information and pull pieces together. So it's almost like I'm seeing it from this multiple layered, faceted perspective of from leadership to teaching, teaching to students, students working with other students, and then as a larger professional development realm. So going down to a student level, this student is in my class, and we had a visit from a team of 20 education leaders from Taiwan who came to visit our school to look specifically at creativity in the classroom. How do we approach creativity? How do we use technology as part of that? And so when my students had the challenge of figuring out how to create a new piece of art that wasn't necessarily embedded in technology but used technology to assist that, they started out by researching things surrounding Taiwan, like flowers, looking at geographic locations, looking at architecture, looking at language. They pulled in tools like Microsoft Translator when they were looking at language translation, and a lot of these things are powered by AI as well. They used Sway to document their process, built things in OneNote for inspiration, research, and then reiterations of design, and they created an original art piece. Another example of the same student, all on the same platform still. She was inking math as she's going through practicing math concepts. So you can see very different applications using the same structure. So we move on to intelligent environments for that Microsoft transformation framework. We typically think of an intelligent environment as being within the walls of the classroom, and that's really good to still have that because we want them to have that technology as they're working daily in the school as opposed to a computer lab, if at all possible, to have it integrated with what they're doing. But then as we're thinking about the future, what do we want our young people to become in the future? How do we want them to be able to interact? We start thinking about their lives outside of the walls of the classroom. How do we transfer the learning that they're doing in the classroom to spaces outside in the community that will ultimately help them transition into workspaces? So for us, that means taking the kids on field trips. We want them to interact with people in the community, experts, other perspectives, other viewpoints, and see that that learning transitions beyond a textbook on the table, on a page, in the walls of the classroom. So to start this one, the Seattle Art Museum was having an exhibit for Indigenous art and Pacific Northwest coastal tribes who created representations through different types of media, including augmented reality. And instead of saying, hey kids, we're going to this field trip, I hope you learned something, you get a day off free from school, this was creating a very intentional learning design for them to experience on site, and that meant prepping them beforehand. So I started by giving them access to some links about symbolism and the type of art that they would be seeing. I created an assignment that gave them criteria of the outcome of the product that I wanted to see, and let them know the time frames that they have, and then that bottom part where it says instructions scrolls down farther, so they had step-by-step processes of the types of data I wanted them to collect, what conversations I wanted them to have with other students, how they would ask other kids questions to help keep them accountable, and it was all there. So knowing that they had their mobile devices with them and their Teams app, they could pull that up directly on their iPhone or whatever mobile phone that they had while they were at the museum. Then from there, I added on some other research things for them to look into. The Seattle Art Museum produced short videos of the artists' actual voices talking about the pieces, and then they could see their assignment in that general chat. This is what it looked like in actuality. So this is Charisse, and she pulled out her mobile device and she's right at the point of art. Instead of saying, I don't remember my assignment, I just move on and see what I see and whatever. She had that to refer back to, and it could redirect her to the points that would be most important for the assignment and to get her thinking about different aspects of the interaction. So in this case, you could see the assignment that I posted for the kids because she pulled it up on her device. Everything is mobile enabled. And then in this section, she's using the direct message to me so that no one else saw it, but she was asking me questions about either adapting something that she wanted to try that was outside the bounds of the criteria, or if I could come see her as she was starting to sketch with digital ink. For me as an educator, that's valuable because as the students are scattered throughout the museum, I can go one by one to check on them, but I may miss a moment where someone really needs assistance or has an idea that they want to throw out, and being able to have that direct communication, know where to go to check on them, was really helpful and made it a more streamlined process. So as we think about intelligent environments extending beyond the walls of the classroom into the community, having mobility makes things a lot easier. If you're tethered to a computer and don't have access to something like that, you have to wait until the next day to reassess what you're doing, to talk with the kids about what do you remember that you experienced, what did you capture, and then restart the whole project again. And that takes some acclimation time. So by having this all in one place, you're saving time for yourself and for your students. Along with that, because they brought their surfaces with them, as they finished at different paces, going through collecting data and getting art, they were able to start creating sways while they're in the museum, just sitting down in a quiet space and working on it. So they took their photos from their mobile devices and uploaded it to Sway. Sway was part of the link that was inside their original team's assignment. Some of them used OneNote and then drew inking over those images to describe their thoughts and how they're putting pieces together, and then they would get feedback. These are some of the new updates to teams that are coming out soon, or being released now. One of them is Turnitin integration. Are any of you familiar with Turnitin? It gives you a chance to have a student submit an assignment. It'll identify if any of that is directly copied from another source, so that you can identify if there is any kind of plagiarism or if it's original student work. Being able to have that integrated right where students are submitting things will be really helpful and streamline the process. Make code assignments that will be able to add it into Teams as well as mobile grading. That would be something helpful for me as we're going back and forth on the bus and kids are already starting to work on those projects. I can see where they're at the place they are. Grade sync and new assignments experience are all new to Teams. So we're looking at technology blueprint. I'm pointing to Chris Newman back there. Raise your hand. He didn't know that he was in this slide. He's one of our Microsoft Teals teachers. He's expert in coding, and that is his actual profession, and he's teaching in the first period of our class day because we know that we want all of our students to have at least a basic understanding of coding. So for our technology blueprint, we know that it's not just us as leadership, we need the kids to understand at a basic level how these languages work, what can they do with these things, and we knew we needed a team of experts to come in to work on that. In the summer, they started to develop a plan and progression aligned with that TEALS program, and then continued on. And then we transitioned that over into a Teams